Hi everyone, I'm finally getting outside and I'm going to be working on this elevated planter that I got last year. I, if you've seen any of my videos, you would have seen that last year I got it kind of late in the season and put it together. So the plants that were in it were fall loving plants. I had pumpkins and I had cabbage and I just had it really decked out for the fall time. So I have since cleaned it out and I have spread out the fertilizer in this bed to give it a refresh. But I am going to be adding some additional fertilizer in these beds. So first of all, I just want to kind of go through the plant list and tell you a little bit about each of these plants that I got. I was able to get to Menards and they had started getting out some of their spring stuff. So I was super excited that I was finally able to get my hands on some stuff. So as you can see, the daffodils, these are the T to T. I think that's the name of how you say it. Um, and these are just beautiful daffodils. And because there are so many clumps in each, I am just going to work on putting them in a row here in the center. So I think it's going to look really, really nice. The second plant that I have here, it is called the candytuft Whistler White, and it's a perennial. So this will go back out into the yard along with the daffodils after I am working on planting it up for summer. These are, I'm just going to look, they're full sun, so they really like the sun just like the daffodils do. They get to be about 4 to 8 inches tall, so it'll kind of be a lower item. And they are down to zone 4 through 9. So they will give you a great show for the spring. And then I also have like a whole flat of the pansies that I got at one of the garden centers. And I'm also going to plant these up. So I think everything is going to look so beautiful together. So that is what I'm going to do. Now it's not going to look totally full just because the pansies are still pretty small. I probably will have to come out here and cover them a couple days this week because it is going to get down to 24 degrees. Now we did have one day that it was 29 and the pansies and all of these items were outside and they did fine. I didn't even have to cover them. So that is good news. So you don't necessarily have to cover them because daffodils can even handle snow being on top of them. Since this is my first experience with this candytuft, I can't tell you if it is, um, super, super cold tolerant, like if snow can land on it and not hurt them. But I'm figuring if they are perennial and they are down to zone 4, I think we're going to be fine because we're in zone 6A here. So I think we're going to be just fine on that. The pansies, again, they handled it very well, the cold temperatures, and I didn't even have to cover any of the planters that I've done already. So I think we're good. Now I'm just going to start getting it set up to where I kind of know where I want to have the plants. I think the real showstopper is the daffodils, right? These are absolutely gorgeous. We even still have some that are waiting to bloom in multiple areas in here, and that's really how I choose which plants I'm going to go with. For example, I would much rather have the little buds popping up and not a whole bunch of color, because what's going to happen is these are going to fade and then this display is not going to look as great. So I am okay with buying them when they have just buds and then they can start to go. Because see, if you look, I already have one that has kind of died back. It doesn't look the greatest, but that's okay. The natural way for them to move is to bloom, so it's okay. And these are such great tolerant flowers and they're so pretty. They have such a great look for spring. It just makes me feel like finally it's here, and because we haven't had that really great of weather. I mean, we've had some 70-80 degree days, but then a blizzard the next day, or now we're going to be dipping into the 50s and down into the 20s for this week, but next week we're back up in the 60s and 70s again. So it can really just vary just depending on what you're working on. And please excuse, I live in a suburb, so you're going to hear a lot of different things out in my backyard. Unfortunately, we're just not in a position to have an acreage with no neighbors, but maybe one day we'll get to that point. So really all I'm doing is I'm separating these. Okay, they come by a bulb. So these bulbs, as long as they have the roots on here, they are good to just start planting in your area. And you don't have, you can put them as a bouquet, or you can individually plant them. This one, I think I'm just going to plant together, the two. These just work really great. I mean, and this is more bang for your buck too. So if you were to go just buy an individual daffodil, you might be paying like $4 for this. I got this whole thing for $4.98. So, and look how many plants it has in it. I mean, this looks really beautiful. So I'm just wanting to plant them kind of in a row. And I'm still going to have some left over for another area. And so what I'm trying to do is see, some of them have kind of like bowed. It was because they were set like this. So I'm going to try to set them like that as well. Variety that I planted it back in the tree border called Say Cheese, and I got those in color blends. But if you do not have time to go get bulbs, because usually you have to do your bulb orders in the fall, you can buy them this way. Look at it, they just look so beautiful. I have some other pots that have nothing in them, so this might be a great little centerpiece for some of my other pots. I'm also just spreading some of the soil that it was packed in. That way it has some of its native soil that it's been used to this whole time, and it doesn't go into any type of shock. Now this watering system is really nice because it has this little place where you can drop all your water, and then it has a reservoir underneath, and it just waters it. So you can go a little bit longer without having to water, but you have to pay attention to this gauge. And there's also a plug on this side of the elevated bed that right now I have it just drained, because right now we're experiencing a lot of rain, and this is really soft and wet anyway. So there was no point in filling up the reservoir yet. So right now it's unplugged, but come soon I'm going to have to plug it. Okay, so I have a few more left for my next project. I really should have gotten more of these. I only bought 3 because I had a different placement that I was going to use these. But unfortunately I didn't grab them, and I haven't had a chance to go back to the store yet to get some more. The one thing, I've been sick all weekend, so this is the first opportunity between rainstorms and cold temperatures that I've been able to get out here and felt good enough. So that is the reason why I haven't had a chance to go back and get some more. But my darling husband knew that I was under the weather pretty much the whole weekend, and he got me a little get well card and a gift card to Menards. So that is definitely going to go to buy more plants. I do try to have a little bit of symmetry, which tends to be more formal, but in this case, I'm just going with the flow for the amount of flowers that I have. And so I really pack the soil around each of the plants. It needs to have that soil there to really do well. And I'm just kind of fluffing it out because it did get a little bit tangled from the storms that we had. We had some pretty fierce wind. I mean, over the last few years, that's all we get anymore is high windstorms, and they blow in these really, really strong storms. When we get a storm, I mean, we've also been in a drought, so you know, we're welcoming any of the moisture that we can get. In fact, our winter was only um, very, very cold, dry, and I think it nipped one of my weeping blue spruce tree. I've had it for a few years, and it just succumbed to some kind of issues. So I'm probably going to have to replace it. And it's probably my fault too, because I transplanted it. It was pretty healthy in the spot that it was in. And then I transplanted it into the tree border because it was getting larger and I wanted to give it plenty of room to be able to grow. And I think it just maybe was too close to the fall and winter. And then when we had such a dry winter and cold winter, it nipped it. So I'm hoping that maybe all this rain that we're going to be getting this week is going to help it, but I'm not so sure that it's salvageable. So now I'm just planting the pansies. They look so cute and dainty, and not all of them have blooms on them yet. They will get it. And this I'm just kind of doing random. They have definitely made these packages easier to tear through in the last few years. These are just like 8 packs of pansies, and they're very affordable. So if you're looking for an affordable option to fill in your garden beds, these are definitely a good option. Some other ones, as we get into the warmer summertime, there's other ones that are good too. Impatiens are good. They come in these flats as well. Um, geraniums. Geraniums is another good one that you can. Begonias are just some nice plants that you can get that come in these little packs, and they do really well, and they're really affordable. Gardening is expensive. I mean, we all know, if you're an avid gardener like I am, gardening can be very expensive, especially when you have bigger projects. Like if you look in my background, you can see that we are still in the middle of the greenhouse project. My husband, because he builds hardscapes, you know, that business is Dirt Therapy Gardens here in Omaha area, that he has to make the business projects become a priority over my stuff. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer for us to get some of the projects done here. Of course, if I can get the project done myself, I will definitely do it. I handle all of the weeding, flower beds, cleanup, all of that fun stuff that comes with the things that I can do in the garden. I go ahead and I just take care of those. It's the building projects that I cannot do. That he is the expert, so I let him do it, but I do help on occasion. I also have a full-time job during the day, and so that does consume a lot of my time as well. I hope eventually that I will be able to just do this on a full-time basis, but until then, I'm just fitting this in when I can. My goal is to be a little bit more consistent on my YouTube videos that I post. That becomes a challenge just because I do work full-time. I have my grandson here quite often, and I have to make time for my family as well. So sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to get the videos edited and ready to go because I have a noisy house, and all of that will pick up on it. A lot of times you'll also hear me doing voiceovers, and the reason I have to do voiceovers is because our area is really loud. We have a train nearby, and we have airplanes that fly over. Automobiles seem like it echoes in our yard. And we have our neighbors who own a lawn care business. That is the one thing that we do not do, is we do not mow our own grass or treat it. Our neighbors, we've hired our neighbors to do that. But the it's so loud, and usually in the area that I am trying to be mindful not to have a whole bunch of background noise going in the distance, that I am able to focus on talking with you guys. So that is what my real goal is. I think it turned out absolutely beautiful. I love all of the colors of the daffodils and the pansies and the candy tuft. And I think it is such a nice pop of color. And I didn't even use all of the pansies either. I mean, you can see that I have more that I can put together a couple more arrangements. And the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the Proven Winners Premium Continuous Release Plant Food. Now, it doesn't technically need any, but if any of this fertilizer ends up in here for the summer, that is a great thing. So it's just a granule, and I just sprinkle it on the top. It just gets to the soil, and then as it warms up, it will release the fertilizer, and it will be good to go for this arrangement and the arrangement for the summer months. Here is one of our concrete products that we offer. We pour them on site and cure them, and then we sell them. If you decide that you are interested in the Omaha area, if you're interested in one of our concrete planters, bird baths, benches, pavers, and planters, definitely let us know. We can put you on a waiting list for items to be made. Usually it takes about 7 to 10 business days for us to create that piece for you. This happens to be one of our really popular ones. We call this the Cleopatra, which has the rounded pieces here at the bottom and a platform for it to sit on. And this is 4 pieces, so it is easy to move around. If you don't like it here, you can put it somewhere else. They do have a 7-inch bowl deep in the inside. So if you wanted to use it for something other than a planter, you absolutely can. We've seen people use them as bird baths, and they just put a few little rocks in there to kind of lift it up a little bit. But robins absolutely love it, and they do not care how deep it is. So, you know, you can also just change your water level to adjust to which birds you attract to your yard. Another thing that we have it is as a fire pit bowl. So these can be sold separately as a fire pit bowl. We put the glass pieces kind of around it as decorative, and I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but some of those little cans that you can light them, and they make a really great little fire bowl. But you can also put it on the stand as a fire bowl too, because we've done that in the past for our clients as well. And then we have a Grecian that is a little bit of a variation of it. It's the same style, except the bottom is square and this resting spot is square. So it looks a little bit more of a modern design than a more cottagey design. So if you're interested, that is another thing that we do. I just decided that I'm going to plant some of these daffodils in here for now. This one just doesn't want to stay up the same way as the others because it was a little bit cockeyed in the planter itself, in its natural can as well. This gives a little bit of color on the other side of our yard. This is our western side of the yard, and you know, it always gets a lot more sun. There's no tree shade over here. Everything that we plant here, we have to be mindful of what is the sun exposure. Typically I will plant some kind of supertunia over here, likes the sun, but then you also have to make sure that you water it regularly during the summer. It just gets so hot. Eventually I would love to be able to have a little bit more shade on this side of the yard. However, we have a retaining wall that needs to be replaced on this side. It's not technically our retaining wall, it belongs to our neighbors. We were going to replace it. That we were in talks with contractors, and when we got the survey done a couple weeks ago, we quickly found out that the wall is only partially on our property line, the rest is on our neighbors. And 50 years ago, when neighbors built walls, they just worked together and didn't pay attention to property lines. And that is the case here. So part of it is on ours, part of it is on our neighbors. And we decided that if they weren't going to do their portion of the wall, which is the worst part of the wall, if they weren't going to do their portion, then we weren't going to do ours either. We'll just wait a little bit longer. Had to spend quite a bit of money on the east side. So if you've seen any of my videos before, you've also seen the east side garden. We call it Garden Avenue. Well, Garden Avenue wall had to come down too. So in 2021, we replaced the Garden Avenue wall. We have such a beautiful Garden Avenue, very lush plants, 7-foot wide flower beds, and it was just so worth having it. Here we're kind of stuck because we can't use some of our yard. But eventually we'll get it done. But here is another example of a beautiful spring arrangement. And I'm going to fertilize it and water it just like I did the elevated planter. This is it for today's video. I am so glad to show you a pop of color here in our area. I am definitely excited to get some spring color in the garden. So thank you everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a great garden day.